Semen retention mastery, igniting your spiritual evolution. Every drop you waste is a spark of your destiny lost. Imagine, for a moment, a single seed falling from the branch of an ancient oak. It tumbles to the earth, not with despair, but with purpose. Buried in the dark soil, it waits. It drinks in the rain, draws strength from the unseen roots of its ancestors, and one day, it erupts. A shoot pierces the crust, reaching for the sun, unfurling leaves that whisper secrets to the wind. That seed was not wasted. It was planted. It became a forest. But what if that seed never found soil? What if it spilled upon barren rock, evaporated under a merciless sun, or was scattered by careless hands? It vanishes. Potential unmanifested, a quiet tragedy etched into the silence of what could have been. This is the story of your essence, my friend. In the hidden chambers of your body, in the sacred forge where life itself is alchemized, there brews a nectar more potent than gold. It is the Jing of the Taoists, the Ojas of the Ayurvedics, the Bindu of the Tantrics, a luminous river of vitality that courses through your veins like liquid starlight. And in our modern age of flickering screens and hollow pursuits, we have forgotten its worth. We spill it freely in the shadows of midnight urges, in the grip of fleeting distractions, believing it infinite, believing it worthless. But every drop you waste is a spark of your destiny lost, a fragment of the God within you, dimmed, a verse of your soul's epic, left unwritten. We live in an era of exquisite disconnection. The world feeds us illusions of abundance, infinite streams of pleasure at our fingertips, promises of connection in likes and swipes, escapes from the ache of our own uncharted depths. Pornography, that siren song of the screen, lures us into its velvet trap, promising intimacy, delivering isolation. It whispers, "Here is ecstasy without effort." And we surrender, spilling our sacred fire into the void of a fantasy that evaporates like mist at dawn. Stress coils around us like a serpent, squeezing the breath from our lungs, turning our days into a grindstone that polishes away our edges until we are smooth, featureless stones tumbling in the river of routine. We chase highs, caffeine jolts, late-night binges, the dopamine drip of social validation, only to crash into the troughs of emptiness, where the soul starves and the body betrays. Relationships fracture under the weight of unspoken hungers. Creativity withers like a vine denied the sun. Purpose feels like a myth told to children. And in this fog, we wander, half alive, wondering why the fire in our belly has gone cold, why our eyes no longer spark with the madness of visionaries, why our touch no longer ignites worlds. We are sleepwalkers in a dream we did not choose, leaking our power drop by drop until the well runs dry. But what if I told you there is a path, a reclamation, not of shame or chains, but of sovereignty? A journey where that spilled seed becomes the oak, where the wasted spark forges a blaze that illuminates empires. This is the way of semen retention, not a cage for your desires, but a crucible for your becoming. It is the ancient art, reborn in the now, a bridge between the temples of yesterday and the temples of tomorrow. Semen retention is transformation, not suppression. Let that sink into your bones like roots into fertile earth. It is not about denying the beast within, chaining the wild horse of your libido to a post of Puritan guilt. No, this is alchemy. It is the deliberate gathering of your primal waters, the refusal to let them scatter like leaves in a storm, and instead channeling them upward, inward, into the furnace of your higher self. In the Taoist tradition, they called it Jing, the essence, the vital fluid that is the root of all life. The sages of ancient China, those bearded wanderers who mapped the meridians of the body like cartographers of the cosmos, taught that Jing is not merely seed. It is the blueprint of your immortality. Stored in the lower dantian, that cauldron below the navel, it simmers as the foundation of Qi, your life force, and from Qi blooms Shen, the spirit that dances with the divine. To squander Jing is to dim the flame. To retain it is to fan it into a bonfire that warms the marrow of your eternal soul. Turn your gaze to the Vedic sages of India, perched on Himalayan peaks where the air tastes of eternity. They spoke of ojas, the sublime essence distilled from the seven dhatus, the tissues of the body, culminating in the nectar of retention. Ojas is the glow of the gods, the luster that radiates from enlightened beings, granting immunity to disease, clarity to the mind, and a magnetic pull that draws abundance like iron to load stone. In Ayurveda, the loss of bindu, the drop through emission, depletes ojas, leaving one adrift in tamas, the fog of inertia. But harness it, transmute it through the subtle fires of the body, and you become a vessel of rasa, divine bliss that overflows into every act, every word, every breath. And in the shadowed chambers of Tantra, where lovers merge not in conquest but in cosmic union, they reveal Maithuna, the sacred act without dissipation. Here, retention is the key to unlocking the serpent power, Kundalini, coiled at the base of the spine like a dragon in slumber. Through breath and gaze, through the art of coiling energy upward along the Sushumna Nadi, the practitioner does not withhold pleasure, but expands it, turning the spark of orgasm into a symphony that reverberates through the chakras, culminating in samadhi, the dissolution into the one. These are not dusty relics, my seeker. These are living maps, etched in the Akashic records of your own DNA. Modern science, with its scalpels and spectrometers, now echoes these truths in the language of molecules and neurons. Let us descend into the laboratory of your body, where the mysteries unfold not in myth, but in the measurable miracle of your flesh. Biologically, semen is no idle fluid. It is a symphony of creation, a cocktail of over 200 proteins, enzymes, minerals, and hormones. Zinc for the shield of immunity, fructose for the fuel of propulsion, prostaglandins for the spark of contraction. Each ejaculation ejects not just seed, but a torrent of this elixir, up to 5 milliliters, teeming with 200 million potential lives, each a universe in miniature. But beyond the poetry of proliferation, retention rewires the architecture of your vitality. Consider dopamine, that neurotransmitter of drive, the architect of motivation. In the frenzy of release, it surges like a tidal wave, crashing in ecstasy, only to recede into the abyss of post-nut clarity's cruel cousin, the refractory slump. Studies from the Journal of Sexual Medicine illuminate this. Chronic emission disrupts the dopamine baseline, leading to tolerance where the thrill dulls and the void yawns wider. Retention, it recalibrates. By holding the floodgates, you sustain elevated dopamine receptors, fostering a steady hum of focus and reward that turns mundane tasks into quests. No longer chasing the spike, you embody the plateau, a sustained aliveness that sharpens the edge of every moment. Then there is testosterone, the hormone of the kings, the forge master of muscle, bone, and unbreakable will. Research from Zhejiang University in China tracked men practicing retention for 7 days. Levels spiked 45% by day 7, peaking in a hormonal renaissance that floods the system with vigor. This is no fleeting boost, it's a cascade. Retained semen signals the testes to conserve resources, amplifying Leydig cell production, which in turn elevates not just T, but the symphony of androgens that sculpt confidence from clay. Your voice deepens, your posture straightens, your gaze pierces. The body remembers its primal blueprint. And oh, the energy. The refractory period, that evolutionary hangover, saps the sympathetic nervous system, diverting blood from brain to recovery. But retention liberates it. Neuroimaging from UCLA reveals heightened prefrontal cortex activity in practitioners. The seat of executive function lights up like a constellation, granting laser focus amid chaos. Adrenaline and cortisol, those stress saboteurs, find balance. The HPA axis, that hypothalamic pituitary adrenal orchestra, harmonizes under the baton of restraint. Sleep deepens, recovery accelerates, immunity fortifies, zinc reservoirs replenish, warding off the invaders that prey on the depleted. Picture it. You rising at dawn, not with the grog of exhaustion, but with the surge of a stallion unchained. Workouts that once drained now invigorate. Ideas that flickered now blaze. The body, once a leaky vessel, becomes a fortress. Vitality not borrowed from stimulants, but brewed from within. This is the biological boon. Retention as the great conservator, turning the raw ore of instinct into the refined steel of sustained power. Yet the body is but the temple. The mind is the altar where true rituals unfold. Let us venture deeper into the labyrinth of the psyche, where retention casts its most profound spell. Psychologically, we are architects of our own illusions, builders of castles on sand. The modern mind, bombarded by the cacophony of notifications and narratives, fragments like shattered glass. Porn addiction, that insidious vine, entwines the neural pathways, hijacking the mesolimbic reward system. The same circuitry that once propelled our ancestors across savannas now loops in endless replays of synthetic highs. A study in psychology of addictive behaviors charts the toll. Diminished gray matter in the striatum, eroded impulse control, a prefrontal cortex starved of resolve. Emission becomes escape, a momentary unplug from the pressure cooker of performance, only to tighten the noose of dependency. Stress amplifies the fracture. Cortisol's chronic drip erodes hippocampal volume, the memory's guardian, blurring the line between past wounds and present peace. Emptiness follows, a spiritual hunger masked as boredom, where disconnection from self breeds disconnection from all. We numb with Netflix binges, doom scrolls, the hollow laughter of memes that echo without mirth. Confidence crumbles, willpower wanes like a tide pulled by unseen moons. Who among us has not stared into the mirror, seeing not a warrior, but a shadow? Vague yearnings unvoiced, dreams deferred to someday. Enter retention, the great integrator, the psychic glue that mends the mosaic. It begins with clarity, a veil lifting from the mind's eye. By foregoing the dopamine dump, you starve the addiction's root, allowing neural plasticity to prune the overgrown vines. fMRI scans from the Max Planck Institute show it. After 30 days of practice, the brain's default mode network, that wanderer of worries, quiets while the salience network sharpens, prioritizing what truly matters. Thoughts cease their frantic pinball. They flow like a river channeled, carving canyons of insight where once there were floods of distraction. Willpower, that muscle of the soul, hypertrophies under retention's weight. Each day of restraint is a victory, a micro-conquest that compounds like interest in the bank of self-mastery. Behavioral psychology, from Baumeister's ego depletion model, evolves here. What drains in excess builds in abstinence. You find the resolve to say no, not just to release, but to the lesser yeses, the snooze button, the sugary sabotage, the toxic tie that binds. Confidence blooms, not as arrogance, but as quiet certainty, the knowledge that you command your impulses, not they you. Social dynamics shift, your presence magnetizes, unburdened by the subtle shame of leakage. Women sense it, men respect it. You walk as one who carries an unseen crown. And the creativity. The floodgates of the muse. Freud whispered of sublimation, Jung of the libido's transmutation, turning base urges into golden art. Modern creatives echo this. David Lynch, with his transcendental meditation, attributes his visionary films to harnessed energy. Musicians like Prince guarded their essence as sacred fuel for symphonies. In retention, The alpha waves of relaxed awareness amplify, birthing ideas that dance like fireflies in the night. The emptiness fills, not with noise, but with the hum of purpose. You awaken to the call of your Dharma, that unique song the universe hums just for you. Relatable. Consider Alex, a 28-year-old graphic designer in the sprawl of Los Angeles. Mornings blurred into afternoons of fog, his sketches half-formed, his dates dissolving into awkward silences born of inner static. Porn was his midnight ritual, a balm for the loneliness of freelance feast or famine. One evening, scrolling forums on NoFap, he stumbled upon the spark. Retention isn't celibacy, it's sovereignty. Skeptical, he committed to 30 days. Week 1, restlessness, like a caged tiger pacing. Dreams vivid, intrusive, the shadow self clawing for release. But he breathed through it, walked the canyons at dusk, journaling the tempests of his mind. By day 14, the shift, energy unbidden, ideas cascading like a breached dam. He redesigned a client's logo in a fever, colors leaping from screen as if alive. Dates transformed, eye contact held, conversations flowed with the ease of old friends. No longer performing, he was present. At 30 days, the mirror reflected not just a man, but a force. Shoulders squared, gaze alight with the quiet fire of becoming. Alex's story is yours, waiting to be told. The psychological alchemy of retention, from fractured to forged, from echo to essence. But the psyche is the gateway. The spirit is the infinite beyond. Here, retention unveils its holiest face, not as technique, but as sacrament. The spiritual dimensions beckon, whispering of potentials that dwarf the mortal coil. This is where the ancients truly soared, and where you, too, may touch the hem of the divine. In the Tantric scrolls, hidden in the caves of Kashmir, the masters mapped the microcosm, the Muladhara chakra at the root, a red lotus coiled with Kundalini's fire. Emission scatters this Shakti, the divine feminine, diffusing her upward thrust. Retention gathers her through Mula Bandha, the root lock, and Ujjayi breath, the victorious wave, coiling her ascent through Svadhisthana's waters of emotion, Manipura's solar forge of will, to Anahata's heart of unconditional love. Each chakra awakens, petals unfurling like dawn over mountains, until she kisses the crown, Sahasrara, and the 1,000-petaled lotus blooms in union with Shiva, the pure consciousness. This is no metaphor, it is mechanics of the subtle body. The Sushumna, that central channel like a spinal river of light, carries the current. Pranayama, breath as prana's vehicle, fans the flame, while visualization transmutes the gross into the glorious. The third eye, Ajna, stirs from slumber. Visions cascade, archetypes, synchronicities, the veil between worlds thinning to gossamer. You sense the web of all things, your actions rippling like stones in a cosmic pond. Taoism mirrors this in the microcosmic orbit, circulating Jing upward along the governor vessel, backward along the conception, a loop of immortality that dissolves the ego's grip. The alchemical baby forms, not in flesh, but in light, the immortal fetus of the adept, birthed through retention's grace. Ayurveda crowns it with brahmacharya, not mere celibacy, but the vow of divine conduct, where ojas fuels the ascent to turiya, the fourth state beyond waking, dreaming, deep sleep, a vigilant awareness that is the self's eternal gaze. Modern mystics bridge the gap. Gurdjieff's fourth way, where sexual energy is the shock that crystallizes being. Mantak Chia's healing Tao, blending Eastern esoterica with Western accessibility, teaching the testicle breath to draw essence inward, forging the pearl of immortality. And science. It glimpses the edges, gamma wave bursts in meditators, mirroring Kundalini's surge. Pineal gland decalcification through reduced toxin load, awakening DMT's endogenous elixir, the spirit molecule that paints the inner canvas with divine geometries. Envision Maria, a yoga teacher in the misty hills of Big Sur. 35, burned out from leading retreats while her own light flickered low. Years of relational churn, each climax a theft from her core, left her adrift, teaching poses with mechanical grace, but feeling the hollow echo within. A tantric workshop cracked the code. Your yoni is a temple, not a tomb. She embraced retention, weaving it with hip circles and Kapalabhati breath. Nights once spent in restless seeking became vigils of visualization, serpent rising, colors blooming in her inner sky. One dawn, during Savasana, it happened. A rush like lightning from root to crown, tears streaming as barriers dissolved. She saw her life not as failures, but as initiations, the betrayals as teachers, the losses as liberations. Clients noticed the shift. Her classes pulsed with unspoken transmission, bodies aligning not just in form, but in field. Maria became the bridge, her retention the key to a subtle radiance that drew seekers like moths to her flame. Your awakening awaits the same. Yet revelation without action is but a dream deferred. The spiritual fire must be fed with practical flame, tools forged in the now, accessible as your next breath. Let us arm you, seeker, with the arsenal of transmutation. Begin with breathwork, the bellows of the inner forge. Practice the 478 technique of Dr. Andrew Weil, infused with ancient intent. Inhale for 4 counts, drawing energy from earth through the root. Visualize white light pooling in the pelvis. Hold for 7, compressing the nectar, feeling it densify like dew into diamond. Exhale for 8, releasing not essence, but stagnation, tension, doubt, the detritus of dissipation. Do this thrice, daily, morning, noon, night, and watch the river steady. For detox, purify the vessel. Fast intermittently. 16.8 windows where food yields to water. Herbal teas of nettle and dandelion flushing the channels. Cold showers, Wim Hof style, shock the system awake, constricting vessels to hoard vitality. Avoid the pornographic poison. Install blockers if needed, but root deeper and journal the triggers, rewrite the narrative from shame to sovereignty. Supplements. Zinc picolinate, 30 mg nightly to replenish the forge. Magnesium glycinate for neural calm. Ashwagandha to balance the hormonal tides. Sleep in darkness. Rise with the sun, align to circadian rhythms, the cosmic clock that tunes your inner worlds. Meditation is your sanctuary. Sit in vipassana silence, observing the urges as clouds drifting across the vastness of awareness. Or embrace the Taoist orbit. Lie supine, tongue to palate, circulate awareness. Down the front, up the back, a figure 8 of fire that draws Jing to heart, heart to mind, mind to spirit. For energy transmutation, the tantric squeeze. At arousal's edge, contract the PC muscles, breathe into the rise, visualize the spark arcing upward like a comet's tail, igniting each chakra in turn. No suppression, honor the wave, ride it to the shore of sublimation. Incorporate movement, Qigong's shaking tree, releasing stagnant qi, yoga's warrior flows, grounding the fire, or simply walk in nature, barefoot on earth, earthing the excess static. Track your streak, not as chains, but as a sacred tally, a rosary of resilience. When slips occur, and they may, rise without recrimination. The path is spiral, not linear, each turn elevating. These tools are your wand, your sword, your chalice. Wield them with devotion, and the ordinary transmutes to the sacred. Picture a seed, not yours alone, but the echo of 1,000 ancestors, the pulse of a lineage stretching back to the first spark of life. In its essence burns the courage of warriors, the vision of poets, the wisdom of those who walked the earth before time had a name. To retain it is to honor their fire, to weave their strength into the tapestry of your becoming. This is not about withholding, it is about wielding, turning raw instinct into refined power, lust into love, chaos into creation. We stand now at the heart of the journey. Seeker, where the desert of Part 1 blooms into a forest of purpose. You've glimpsed the biological forge, where hormones surge and neurons align. You've crossed the psychological altar, where clarity and will rise from the ashes of distraction. Now, we plunge deeper into the why of it all, into the crucible where the ordinary man transforms into the sacred masculine, where retention becomes not just a practice, but a rebellion against a world that would dim your light. Why choose this path when the world offers 1,000 easier roads? Roads paved with instant gratification, fleeting highs, the seductive lie of no consequence. Because you, seeker, are not born for ease. You are born for mastery. In an age where masculinity is mocked as brute or buffoon, where men are taught to numb their fire or spill it aimlessly, retention is defiance. It is the refusal to be a cog in the machine of mediocrity, a spark in the darkness of distraction. Imagine the modern man, adrift in a sea of noise. He is told his strength lies in conquest, more likes, more lovers, more zeros in his bank account. Yet the more he chases, the emptier he feels. His energy scatters like ash in the wind, his purpose dulled by the grind of routine and the pull of pixelated sirens. Pornography, that thief in the night, steals not just his seed, but his sovereignty, rewiring his brain to seek shadows over substance. Scientists at Cambridge have seen it. The prefrontal cortex shrinking under the weight of chronic porn, decision-making dulled, dopamine spikes chaining the mind to novelty over depth. But there is another way. Retention is the reclamation of the sacred masculine, not the toxic parody of dominance, but the archetype of the king, the creator, the sage. In ancient tales, from Gilgamesh to Krishna, the hero conserves his essence not out of denial, but as a sacred act of devotion to his quest, his people, his god. The Taoist masters spoke of cultivating the jade stalk, channeling desire into the dragon's ascent, where the lower meets the higher in alchemical union. The tantric yogis wove Mithuna without loss, where the lover becomes the beloved, the act a prayer, the energy a bridge to the infinite. This is your birthright, man of the now, to stand tall, not as a slave to impulse, but as a steward of power. To walk with the quiet fire of one who knows his worth, who carries the weight of his ancestors' dreams and the promise of his own. Retention is the key to this kingdom, where the sacred masculine rises, not to dominate, but to create, to protect, to illuminate. Yet the path is not without its trials. Shadows stalk the way, each a teacher cloaked in challenge. First, the hydra of porn addiction, a multi-billion-dollar beast engineered to hook. Neuroscientists at MIT map its grip. The brain's reward system, starved for primal connection, latches onto the endless novelty of explicit images, flooding the nucleus accumbens with dopamine while starving the soul of intimacy. Each click erodes willpower, each release a small betrayal of the self, the shame whispering, "You are weak," binding you tighter to the cycle. Then, the weight of stress, a serpent coiling around the modern man. Cortisol floods from deadlines, bills, expectations, drowning the nervous system, pushing you toward escapism. Research in psychoneuroendocrinology reveals the toll. Chronic stress slashes testosterone, dims seminal quality, a biological echo of the spirit's exhaustion. In this state, retention feels like scaling a cliff in a storm. The body craves release as a false salve, a momentary reprieve that deepens the wound. Emptiness, too, haunts the path. In a culture worshipping status, wealth, validation, the inner world withers. Men confess to feeling lost, disconnected from purpose, from community, from the divine spark within, as surveys from the American Psychological Association attest. This void tempts reckless emission, as if spilling seed could fill the abyss. It cannot. And let us not ignore the primal beast within. The libido, fierce and untamed, roaring for expression. To the untrained, retention seems a cage, a denial of nature itself. The shadow whispers, "You'll go mad, you'll lose your edge, you'll become less." These are lies, but they are loud, and in moments of weakness they sing like sirens. But fear not, for these shadows are but initiations. Retention is not a battle against desire, but a dance with it, a choreography of breath, will, and wisdom that turns the beast into an ally. Let us arm you with the tools, forged in the fires of ancient practice and sharpened by modern insight, to navigate this labyrinth. Begin with the breath, the bridge between body and spirit, the rhythm that aligns the mortal with the eternal. Picture yourself in a quiet space, spine erect like a pillar of light. Inhale deeply through the nose for 6 counts, drawing air into the lower belly, visualizing a golden orb of energy at the root chakra, pulsing with primal fire. Hold for 8 counts, feeling the orb densify, compressing desire into power, a diamond forming in the crucible of your will. Exhale slowly for 10 counts, releasing not essence, but stagnation, tension, doubt, the detritus of dissipation, imagining the orb rising to the heart, warming it with purpose. Repeat this kumbhaka breath, drawn from the yogis, 10 times each morning and evening, anchoring your day in clarity. When the urge surges, fierce and unbidden, turn to the box breath of warriors, infused with tantric intent. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. As you hold, contract the pelvic floor, Mula Bandha, visualizing the energy spiraling upward like a flame licking the spine. This is not suppression, it is sublimation, turning the raw heat of lust into the radiant glow of resolve. The mind craves structure, and ritual is its fortress. Rise before dawn when the world is still and the veil between realms is thin. Begin with 5 minutes of dynamic movement, Qigong's 8 brocades or sun salutations, to stir the qi and awaken the body. Follow with a cold shower, not just for discipline, but to stimulate the vagus nerve, calming the stress response, as studies from the Netherlands Radboud University confirm. Each night, journal as if mapping your soul's terrain. Write of the trigger you faced, a late-night scroll, a fleeting fantasy, how you navigated it with breath or a walk, and the vision of who you're becoming. A man of unshakable focus, a creator of worlds. This rewires the subconscious, turning fleeting wins into lasting identity. If digital traps beckon, use tools like freedom or cold turkey to block them, but root deeper. Affirm, in the quiet of your heart, I am the master of my fire. The body is the crucible, and what you feed it shapes the flame. Semen is dense with nutrients. Zinc, magnesium, selenium, depleted with each emission. Replenish with intention. Zinc, at 25 milligrams daily with a touch of copper, fuels testosterone synthesis, as andrology studies show. Magnesium citrate, 400 milligrams nightly, supports neural repair and deep sleep, per research from the University of Edinburgh. Omega-3s from wild-caught salmon or flaxseed oil reduce inflammation, clearing the energetic channels. Steer clear of soy, excessive alcohol, processed sugars, which disrupt hormonal balance, as the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology warns. Embrace adaptogens. 500 milligrams of ashwagandha twice daily, 200 milligrams of rhodiola each morning, to stabilize cortisol and amplify vitality. Hydrate with spring water, mineral-rich, to conduct the body's electric currents. Once a week, Fast with bone broth or green juice, honoring the ancient practice of austerity, resetting the system to burn brighter. No man is an island, though the world would have you believe it. Seek brothers on the path. Online forums like the retention communities on Reddit or local men's groups where vulnerability is strength. Share your journey, not to boast, but to reflect. Speaking truth solidifies it. Social psychologists note, accountability groups boost adherence to goals by 65%. Find a mentor, a coach, a friend who holds you to your fire. In their eyes, see your own potential mirrored back. When desire roars, redirect it. Paint, write, lift weights, run until your lungs sing with effort. The artist Basquiat poured his intensity into canvas. Athletes like Muhammad Ali use discipline to conquer. If physicality calls, try kettlebell swings, explosive, grounding, transmuting pelvic heat into full body power. If the mind hungers, read the Gita or Lao Tzu. Their words are lanterns in the dark. For sexual energy specifically, practice the Taoist art of testicle breathing. Sit quietly, cup the scrotum gently, inhale deeply, and imagine cool energy rising from the root to the crown, transforming heat into light. Mantak Chaya's Healing Tao texts illuminate this. Simple, potent, accessible. In partnership, explore non-ejaculatory intimacy, lingam massage, eye-gazing, synchronized breath, to deepen connection without depletion. Let us walk with Daniel, a 32-year-old software engineer in Seattle, to see the path in action. Once a slave to late-night binges, porn, pizza, self-doubt, his life slipped into grayscale. Deadlines crushed him, his startup dream stalled in procrastination's mire. A friend's challenge sparked the shift. Try 90 days of retention. Daniel laughed, skeptical, but curiosity won. Week 1 was a furnace, urges like wildfire, sleep fractured by vivid dreams. He leaned into Kumbhaka breath, riding the waves. By week 3, clarity emerged. Code that once tangled now flowed like poetry. He swapped coffee for green tea, porn for philosophy. Sartre's existentialism lit a fire in his soul. At 60 days, he pitched his startup to investors, his voice steady, eyes alight with conviction. They funded him. At 90 days, he met Elena, a dancer whose presence mirrored his own growing radiance. Their dates were electric, not from release, but from restraint, their connection a slow burn of shared dreams. Daniel's story is not myth, it is map. Each breath, each choice, each redirected urge builds the cathedral of your higher self. These tools, breath, ritual, nutrition, community, redirection, are your wand, your sword, your chalice. Wield them with devotion, and the ordinary transmutes to the sacred. This path is not a sprint, but a pilgrimage. You now hold the why and the how, tools to face the shadows, to forge the sacred masculine from the raw ore of instinct. Yet the journey ascends further. In the final act, we climb the spiritual summit, where retention becomes not just practice, but prayer. A gateway to divine communion, where the Kundalini dances, the third eye opens, and the soul remembers its cosmic name. Prepare, seeker. The tools you wield now are the foundation. What lies ahead is the flame that consumes all doubt, forging you into the man you were born to be. You stand now at the precipice, seeker, where the earth kisses the sky, where the finite touches the infinite. The journey has carried you through the desert of disconnection, across the forge of body and mind, and into the heart of purpose. Now, we ascend the final peak, the spiritual summit, where semen retention transcends practice and becomes prayer, a sacred key to unlock the divine within you. This is not the end, but the beginning, where every drop you hold becomes a star in the constellation of your soul, guiding you to your cosmic name. Here, at the edge of all you've known, retention reveals its holiest face. It is no longer about conserving energy, but about becoming a vessel for the divine, a chalice for the nectar of eternity. The ancients knew this, their voices echoing through the ages, from the Taoist immortals to the Tantric Siddhas, from the Vedic sires to the alchemists of the West. They saw the seed not as mere biology, but as the spark of creation itself, a fragment of the cosmic fire that birthed the stars. To retain it is to align with that fire, to become a co-creator with the universe, to awaken the God that sleeps within your mortal frame. In the Tantric traditions, this is the dance of Shakti and Shiva, the divine feminine rising from the root, coiled as Kundalini, to merge with the pure consciousness at the crown. Each act of retention is a breath in that dance, a refusal to scatter the Shakti's power, instead guiding her upward through the Sushumna, the river of light that runs along your spine. The Muladhara chakra, rooted in earth, stirs with primal force. Svadhisthana flows with the waters of desire. Manipura blazes with the will's solar fire. At Anahata, the heart love blooms. Not the fleeting ache of attachment, but the boundless compassion that embraces all. Vishuddha's throat sings truth. Ajna, the third eye, opens to visions beyond the veil. And at Sahasrara, the crown, you dissolve into the one, where self and cosmos are no longer separate. The Taoists charted this same journey in their microcosmic orbit, a loop of immortality where Jing, the essence, is refined into Qi, the life force, and Qi into Shen, the spirit. Picture it. As you sit in stillness, tongue touching palate, you breathe the energy upward along the governor vessel, from the base of the spine to the crown, then down the conception vessel to the lower dantian, a cycle of light that transmutes the gross into the sublime. This is the alchemy of retention, where the seed becomes the pearl, the mortal vessel birthing the immortal fetus, a radiant self that knows no death. The Vedic sages called it brahmacharya, not mere celibacy, but the vow of divine conduct. Ojas, the luminous essence distilled from retention, floods the body with radiance, the mind with clarity, the soul with connection to Brahman, the infinite. In this state, you touch Turiya, the fourth state beyond waking, dreaming, or deep sleep, where awareness rests in its own nature, unbound by time or form. Modern mystics echo this. Gurdjieff spoke of the shock of conserved energy, crystallizing the higher being. Jung saw the libido's sublimation as the path to the self, where the psyche becomes a mandala of wholeness. And science, with its cautious lens, begins to glimpse the edges. Neuroimaging from Stanford shows gamma-wave bursts in meditators, mirroring the Kundalini's surge, a frequency of heightened awareness where intuition sharpens and synchronicities abound. The pineal gland, that enigmatic third eye, stirs when toxins are cleared as retention reduces the body's stress load, potentially unlocking endogenous DMT, the spirit molecule that paints the inner canvas with divine geometries. These are not fantasies, but signposts, proof that the ancient maps align with the modern compass. But what does this mean for you, seeker, in the pulse of your daily life? It means awakening, not in some distant ashram, but in the now, on the subway, in the office, in the quiet of your room at dawn. Retention is the key that unlocks the third eye, not as a metaphor, but as a felt reality. You begin to see, not just with eyes, but with the heart's vision. Colors grow vivid, faces reveal unspoken stories. The world hums with meaning. Synchronicities weave through your days, a chance meeting, a book falling open to the perfect page, a dream that maps your next step. This is the path of sacred mastery, where every choice becomes a prayer, every breath a hymn to the divine. You walk not as a man bound by flesh, but as a soul clothed in it, a warrior of light whose every step ripples through the cosmos. Relationships deepen, not in the fleeting heat of passion, but in the steady glow of presence. Your work, once a grind, becomes a canvas for creation, each task infused with the fire of purpose. Your body, once a leaky vessel, becomes a temple, radiating vitality that draws others like moths to a flame. Consider Amara, a 40-year-old therapist in Mumbai, whose story mirrors this ascent. Years of overgiving left her drained, her sessions mechanical, her spirit dulled by the weight of others' pain. A tantric guru introduced her to retention, not as abstinence, but as reverence for her essence. She began with breathwork, visualizing Shakti rising with each inhale, her spine a ladder to the stars. She fasted weekly, cleansing her body of urban toxins, her mind of doubt. Meditation became her sanctuary, where visions of light danced behind closed eyes. One evening, during a group session, it happened. A surge from root to crown, like lightning threading through her being. She saw her clients not as broken, but as whole, their wounds portals to healing. Her words, once rehearsed, flowed like mantras, shifting the room's energy. Her practice thrived, not from marketing, but from the magnetic pull of her presence. Amara became a beacon, her retention the flame that lit her path to the divine. This is your call, seeker. Retention is not a rule, but a revelation, a path to sacred mastery where you become the alchemist of your own soul. Begin where you stand. In the morning's quiet, sit in stillness, breathe the kumbhaka breath. 6 counts in, 8 counts hold, 10 counts out, drawing the golden orb from root to heart. At night, journal your visions. What did you see in the world's hidden corners? What stirred in your soul? Move your body, Tai Chi's slow arcs or yoga's warrior flows, grounding the fire in flesh. When desire surges, dance with it. Practice the Taoist orbit, tongue to palate, energy cycling from base to crown to base, a loop of light that forges the immortal pearl. In partnership, honor the sacred, gaze into your lover's eyes, breathe as one, let intimacy be a temple, not a transaction. Eat with reverence, zinc-rich seeds, magnesium-rich greens, adaptogens like ashwagandha to balance the inner tides. Fast to purify, walk barefoot on the earth to ground, seek brothers and sisters who mirror your fire. Slips will come as they must, each a lesson, not a failure. Rise without shame, for the path is spiral, each turn lifting you higher. Track your days, not as a chain, but as a rosary of devotion, each bead a step toward the divine. You are not denying desire, you are expanding it, from a fleeting spark to a cosmic blaze that illuminates your purpose. This is the way of sacred mastery, where retention becomes the key to your spiritual evolution. You are not just a man, not just a body. You are a spark of the divine, a note in the universe's symphony, a seed destined to become a forest. Every drop you hold is a prayer, every breath a vow, every step a pilgrimage to the infinite within. Go forth, seeker. Retain your essence, not as a burden, but as a gift. Let it fuel your focus, ignite your creativity, awaken your spirit. You are the oak, the flame, the star. You are the sacred masculine, rising to meet the divine feminine within, forging a union that births worlds. This is your awakening. This is your destiny.